r/EntitledParents. Our first story we'll be reading today. Entitled Mom Thinks It's Okay for Her Kid to Play GTA, but Thinks I Shouldn't Play Fallout. From user Cubs500. After that, Entitled Mom gets mad that she's not allowed to occupy an emergency road with a stroller. From user Desrep2. And then we'll be finishing up with Woman gets angry over a $2 charge for extra cheese and overhearing a French conversation with another customer at the sub shop. From user Tommy. Thank you so much to our authors for letting us read your stories. And if you're an author who would like me to read your story next, please submit them to the r/Mr. Reddit subreddit. And if you're new, don't forget to subscribe and tick that notification bell for new stories from Reddit every single day. Entitled Mom Thinks It's Okay for Her Kid to Play GTA, but Thinks I Shouldn't Play Fallout. I'm on mobile, so things might come out differently than when I type them. Also, I didn't say this before, but English is my first language. This happened a few years ago at my local GameStop. My dad took me to get some games because he figured I was old enough to play violent games. I was 13 at the time and looked like I was 12. I'm 16 now, and whenever I shave my pathetic excuse of a beard, I still look 12. I knew which games I wanted, Fallout 3 and New Vegas. I heard really great things about them. I went to the PS3 wall when it was still pretty big. It's just a couple of shelves on the floor now, and I went looking. I grabbed Fallout 3 Game of the Year and New Vegas. I couldn't afford Ultimate Edition. I walked over to my dad and told him I was ready to check out. Before I went to the counter, he grabbed South Park: The Stick of Truth. This game doesn't retain to the story. He just knew I watched the show. Before I walked to the counter, this woman rushes in with her kid, who looked like he was about 8. Her kid grabs GTA 5 as if he's memorized its location on the wall. The conversation goes a little something like this. Our cast: we've got me, we've got the Karen, the entitled kid, the employee, and my dad. Hello, miss. Did you find everything all right?
Yes, I did.
The GameStop employee looks at the case, looks at the kid, and then looks at entitled mom. Miss, you do understand that this is rated M, yes?
So?
This game is pretty epic. It's got a lot of bad stuff in it.
And that means?
I'm not supposed to sell this game to you since your child is considerably young. Entitled Mom looks at me and says,
Well, he's young too. You shouldn't sell him that game then.
Miss, I've known these two for years now. I know that this young man is capable of playing this game, referring to Fallout in case some of you didn't know.
Young man? You're calling this little brat a young man? He's only 11.
She actually said I looked 11. I'm already a little annoyed at this point, and I just say, I'm 14.
No, you are not. I know what a 14-year-old looks like. You are not 14, you little brat.
I had only said 2 words, and I was already being called a brat.
Mommy, I want to play the game.
And you will.
She turned towards me and took the games out of my hands and turned back to the employee.
I want these games free as compensation for you harassing me and my child.
Employee is clearly getting annoyed. Miss, I can't let you do that, as that's against store policy. Plus, this young man was about to check out before you rushed in here.
Enough of this young man crap. He is clearly a brat who shouldn't be allowed to buy these games either.
You have no right to talk to my son like that.
Who the heck are you to say I shouldn't talk like that to your brat?
Miss, you need to leave.
Shut up and mind your own business. If anything, this brat and his father should leave.
I had enough of her crap. 1. Don't talk about my father like that. 2. I already told you, I'm 14. 3. I had only ever said 2 words. 4. I'm 5 years older than your kid, and I've had experience with these types of games. You are the one who should leave. Entitled Mom was upset after that. She yelled at the employee more, yelled at my dad, saying he wasn't a good father. She yelled at me for God knows why at this point. Entitled Mom, being the land whale that she was, took the cases, knocked the fixtures on the floor. She put in some real force and stormed out, cases in hand. There was no receipt, so she triggered the alarms. She also proceeded to give us the bird on her way out. An entitled kid kicked me in the leg before following her out. Since the cases don't have the games in them, the employees have to put the games in if they're pre-owned. She only took empty cases. The employee gave me new cases and the games, upgraded New Vegas and South Park for no extra charge. To this day, she is still my favorite employee, and she will occasionally give me discounts. Thanks for reading. Edit. I've been reading some comments and I found some good questions that I will answer. Yes, technically GameStop isn't supposed to give discounts or any free items. I went to the store that day and I was met with an entirely different crew. I guess the employees from the time of this story were fired sometime after. They were pretty laid back and knew full well what was happening to the company, and I guess they didn't care anymore. I know 5 plus 8 is 13. I just tried throwing off entitled Mom, but I don't think she even cared about what I was saying at that point. But just like most 13-year-olds would do, I said I was 14. Next up we've got entitled Mom gets mad that she's not allowed to occupy an emergency road with a stroller. So, backstory. I work for a company that does LARP-based events, birthday parties mostly, but also quite a few company trips and other general weird events. And every year, we attend several medieval fairs as they provide excellent advertisements for the company and are a lot of fun for us crew. So my job on this medieval fair was to coordinate our archery with foam arrows and hammer and rock throwing, which was located right beside one of the 3 taverns on the market. Now, there being a tavern meant there also had to be several emergency roads, one of which leads right between my area and that of another activity of ours. So, on to the story. I was standing there teaching some kids how to use a bow and arrow, all well and good, with the emergency road being fairly packed, but that's no biggie, since should there be an emergency, the people can get moved really quite quickly. We're just not allowed to block it with anything. As the kid finishes his turn, having an absolute blast shooting arrows, I look over and notice someone from the tavern tent come walking towards me. Quite naturally, I walk towards him and apologize to the next in line that they will have to wait a moment. The guy looks displeased, to say the least, and I immediately get ready for an earful, but fortunately, not my fault. He had just spoken with the safety team and the fire road was too blocked. So I turn to look and I see the problem. The road was fairly busy, but in the middle of it all, I see a woman sitting in a camping chair with a baby stroller next to her. And based on her haircut, facial expression, and style of clothing, I began seeing a massive sign above her head with the name Karen written on it, because Lord Almighty, she looked like one. Now, with the way my area and the one next to me was made, we have a dead zone in between us, an area that can't really be used for anything and is just kind of there. So me being the smart boy that I am, I think to myself, if I move Karen over there into the dead zone, problem solved. So I go over to her, and of course start off with, "Excuse me, ma'am," entitled Mom in a very snarky tone.
What? Shouldn't you be doing your job and get this line done with?
Well, yes, I should. But first, I need you to move with your stroller, over there. I point to the dead zone.
Why? I'm sitting perfectly fine here, and if I want to watch my boy when he shoots...
Ma'am, you'll be perfectly capable of watching him over there.
And why do I have to move?
Because, ma'am, this is an emergency road, and your chair and stroller is in the way.
But there isn't any emergency now, is there?
No, but that doesn't matter, ma'am. The road is in case there is one.
You listen here. You just do your job, or I'll report you for harassment and get you fired. I know the man who runs this show.
She didn't clarify whether she meant just our little area, where I happen to be on very good terms with my boss, or the whole market, where I also happen to be on good terms with the people on the top. Ma'am, I don't really care who you know. I've gotten word from the safety team that strollers, chairs, and such aren't allowed in the emergency roads. This kind of talk followed for quite a while, with her creating quite a scene, mentioning numerous times that she knew the boss, showrunner, director. She used a lot of different names for him. Now, what I didn't know was that one of the other crew had gotten hold of the big man himself and asked him to come down. So after maybe 10 minutes of very fruitless conversation, he arrives and he takes over for me, trying to explain to this lady that she has to move. She gets very aggressive with the change in person and threatens the big man himself with getting him fired. Now, I'd like to think I'm usually pretty good at keeping my cool, but I lost it. I began laughing like a lunatic, and the few around me who overheard it and knew who the big man is also began laughing, which only makes entitled mom even more frantic, and she begins screaming.
Shut up, all of you! I know the man who runs this entire market, and I'm gonna get you all fired!
I almost fell over myself laughing. So the big man himself asks entitled mom, "So, who exactly is it you know?" And to my surprise, she actually knows the name of the big man and says it straight to his face. So, the big man himself confirms that she claims to know him personally. And lo and behold, he just reaches for his ID. And I could see the look on her face when she realized that it was in fact him. She quickly grabbed her son, her chair, her stroller, and stormed off. Not a whole lot more happened other than a lot of laughs that evening. And our final story of the day. Woman gets angry over a $2 charge for extra cheese and overhearing a French conversation with another customer at the sub shop. Hey there, Mr. Reddit. I've been watching your videos for a while, and I finally made a Reddit account to post my story here. English is not my first language, but I am better at it than most English speakers in my area of Canada, and I'm on mobile. Now, I work at a prominent sub shop in my town. We have 6 locations in my city. I have a fair amount of stories like this, just none are as bad as this one. We easily make over 300 sandwiches in 20 or so hours on a Friday. I usually close at 3 a.m. on Fridays. This situation happened at about 2:30 a.m. Our cast. We've got the entitled woman and me, glorious magical elephant. Entitled woman walks up to my counter, to which I wash my hands and put on glove. Hey there, what can I get you tonight? With my best customer service voice, as I've been there 8 hours already.
Yes, I'd like a BLT sub on the freshest bread you have.
I feel the breads and the softest is the white bread. That seems to be plain white bread, is that all right?
Yes, it is.
All right. Is it toasted or meat heated separately?
Meat heated separately.
In the time I had to prep the bacon to heat, another customer walked in. He was a regular, and I knew he spoke little to no English, so I put my French to work while I wait for the bacon. I started to make his sandwich when I hear a throat clear of doom. I knew then I was dealing with a bad woman. I grabbed the bacon from the microwave and put it on the bread. What kind of cheese would you like tonight?
I'd like shredded.
As I'm putting on the cheese, she starts laying into me about not speaking English to the customer when I clearly know English.
Now, why the heck would you not speak English to someone when you clearly know it?
Because the gentleman barely speaks English, but he speaks French, and I'm born French, so I speak to him in a language that is most comfortable to him. Entitled woman looks at the amount of cheese on the sandwich and demands I put more. I then informed her about the extra cost that comes with it, and she says it was fine, so I added on.
Well, he should learn English then, living in Canada.
She turned to him and started telling him to get back to France and using old French insults, which insult me as well. Ma'am, I'd like to please ask you to not harass my customers. Now, what would you like on your sandwich? The entitled woman tells me what she wanted, and I comply.
Why are you defending him? You are clearly English. You just learned French throughout school. You're not truly French.
I'm just trying to make sure no bad situations occur, as well as I was born into the language. I start ringing her up, and the total is $11.05.
What? It was $9.05 last time. Why the heck is it more expensive?
The extra cheese charge is $2, ma'am. I had told you about it, and you had agreed to it.
You never told me that. Why would I ever agree to that?
She started to scream at me loudly. I wanted to scream back, but knew I couldn't, lest I face the HR department. Ma'am, will it be debit, credit, or cash? She pays and leaves. I come in the next day to my manager and assistant manager waiting for me. They had a write-up written out for me. They explained that the lady called in the morning to complain about harassment and discrimination and me being rude. I told them what happened and told them to check the cameras. Thankfully, the audio proves my case. The entitled woman had gotten the refund for her troubles, and I'm told it's not the first time this happened. Needless to say, it never happened again. I'm still stupefied that this happened to me that late at night. Anyways, thanks for listening, everyone. And thank you, Mr. Reddit, for making my workday shorter than normal, and you may use this in a video. Just message me to let me know when the video is. That's all for now, but don't be blue. I'll be back soon with more stories for you. Remember to listen to Mr. Reddit every night, so your dreams will be wonderful like you are and bright.